So very good evening, friends. So today, this is the last class on this intense revision program, and potentially we'll be talking about some of the very important left-out topics, but still which is very important for your preliminary examination. In that way, my dear friends, in that way, somewhere Indian drainage systems we have to cover, Indian climate we have to talk about. So after completing this Indian physiographic divisions, we'll also talk about, say, for example, the natural vegetations in India, how exactly Indian climate and natural vegetations can be overlapped. Then we'll also be talking about the soil distributions in India, and of course, we'll be talking about agriculture. Okay, so these are some of the very important areas which is important for your preliminary examination per se. Okay, right. And before we get into the subject, so just a reminder: 21st May we have a special marathon session which will be, say, for example, almost, say, for example, 8 continuous hours will be having this marathon session, where almost all these important events that has happened in the last 1 year will be potentially covered. So kindly utilize this opportunity, my dear friends. Right. With this, today talking about the likely topics, what exactly we'll be discussing about. As I said, we'll be talking about this Indian drainage system. Right. We'll be talking about the river systems in India, Indian drainage system. Then we'll be talking about Indian climate. Then the natural vegetation. See, climate and vegetation, they are very closely related. Only thing is that I will be giving you some exceptions. Okay. So apart from the exception, generally this climate and vegetation, they almost, say, for example, overlap with each other. Then we'll be talking about agriculture in India. See, for example, here, agriculture itself is a very vast topic. And let me tell you, my difference, agriculture is one very important topic in your preliminary examination. Explicitly, agriculture is not mentioned in your syllabus. But every year, say, for example, 3 to 4 questions, always it is asked from what? Agriculture. And here, at least, say, for example, 1 or 2 questions I can always somewhere expect on the geographical condition needed for the crop growth. So today in this class, say, for example, we'll be talking about the geographical condition needed for some of the very important crops. Right? So very important crops. Some of the food crops, the cash crops or the commercial crops along with the plantation crops will be seeing it. Then we'll be talking about the soil distributions in India. Okay. USDS classification is there, but we'll not go for this USDS classification. We'll go for the classification which is based on the color genesis and the texture of the soil. Okay. Which is very popular. Right. Right, my dear friends, one by one we'll just take with I'll just start with this Indian drainage system. Indian drainage system. See, when I talk about Indian drainage system, very simple. I'm just talking about what? River systems in India. River systems in India. When I talk about this drainage system, my dear friends, somewhere this Indian rivers can either be classified. Say, for example, it can be classified based on the geographical location where exactly it is flowing, or it can be classified based on the direction where exactly it is flowing. When I talk about, say, for example, based on the direction, how exactly this, say, for example, this rivers are flowing, you can classify them as west flowing rivers and east flowing rivers. Somewhere you can classify them as west flowing and east flowing rivers. What is this west flowing rivers? As I already said, even yesterday's class we are talking about this west flowing rivers. So any river which tries to confluence with Arabian Sea, we call them as what? West flowing river. Whereas any river which tries to confluence with the Bay of Bengal, we call them as what? East flowing river. Two words I'm just telling you. A river which tries to confluence. It means not necessarily that all river will be confluencing with either Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. Finest example, I'll take the case of river Luni. Right? Luni is a west flowing river. Luni originates from, say, for example, Aravalli as a mountain. It flows towards the west. But is it confluencing with Arabian Sea, if you ask me? No. This river, you call them as what? Inland drainage or inland river in India. There are plenty of rivers, but Luni is one of the most prominent inland rivers in India. So somewhere we do have this inland drainage. That's the reason I said any river that tries to confluence with Arabian Sea, we call them as what? West flowing river. Which tries to confluence with Bay of Bengal, you call them as what? East flowing river. Right? Not necessarily they should be flowing towards east or west. Why I'm insisting? Because when I talk about Brahmaputra in India, my dear friends, Brahmaputra in India is actually flowing towards west in India. Correct? But Brahmaputra, we call them as what? East flowing river. That's the reason I said, because Brahmaputra is confluencing with Bay of Bengal. Right. So what is east flowing rivers and west flowing rivers? We have an idea. And which river system occupies a larger area, if you ask me? Which river system has a larger drainage basin? Undoubtedly, it is east flowing rivers. East flowing rivers are very popular, very major rivers. Am I right? You name it, normally the most popular names you take it, that will be an east flowing river as such. But what is very interesting, somewhere if I start counting the number of rivers, my dear friends, west flowing rivers are more in numbers. Nearly there are 600 west flowing rivers. India Yearbook says the east flowing rivers are only handful. It is only handful, my dear friends. Talk about handful, right? Even the number is not given. But taking the other sources, if I'm just talking about it, it is approximately 1/3 of the west flowing rivers. It is approximately, my dear friends, approximately it is somewhere around 200, my dear friends, right? West flowing rivers are nearly 600 and the east flowing rivers are 200. Then you may ask the question, what is this? Any river by default, if I take it, that will be an example of east flowing river. But you are saying east flowing rivers are very less in numbers. Of course, yes. East flowing rivers, we have very less number of rivers, but all these rivers are large rivers. West flowing rivers, I have more number of rivers, but small rivers. So what is the basic idea? West flowing rivers, I have large number of small rivers. East flowing rivers, I have small number of large rivers. This fact is very important. See, we call them as what? Anomaly. Anomaly means normally what we perceive and what exactly is the fact, slightly there will be a different. Okay. Someone comment, Aditi Verma, sir, please explain the reason for Luni river not confluencing with Arabian Sea. The reason is very simple, Aditi Verma. See, what makes a river as inland in drainage? There are n number of reasons. First and foremost is the prevailing climate. For example, when I talk about Luni, the origin, the course of the river, long course of the river, and the place where exactly it is confluencing. All the places you take it, Luni is running or flowing in what? Desert. So what happens? The loss of water will be more. Okay. Already this region is what? Desert. The rate of evaporation is also more. So somewhere, say for example, this river may not hold the water to ultimately drain into what? Arabian Sea as such. So prevailing climate plays a very, very important role. Okay. And of course, see, for example, volume of water also plays a very important role in determining what? A river becoming inland and not. Right. And there are one more reason, we call them as what? Loss of gradient. But loss of gradient is not applicable to what? Luni. So Luni, if you ask me what exactly is the reason, right? It is the prevailing climate variance. And see, in India, we have plenty of, say for example, rivers which are inland in drainage. Luni you take. River Ghagar also we have. River Ghagar we have. River, say for example, West Banas we have. River Rupan. Say for example, we do have one Saraswati, not the ancient Saraswati. This is another Saraswati what we have in Gujarat. All these rivers are inland drainage rivers in India. But all these rivers, if you ask me what is commonality, they are flowing through what? Desert. And again, second question, if you ask me, do you mean to say that all the rivers that is flowing through a desert will be inland in drainage? Not necessarily. Because you would have heard about a river called as Nile River, right? Nile River is a perennial river. But where exactly it flows? It flows through what? A desert. It flows through, say for example, almost the Sudanese desert. It flows through the Libyan desert, right? If not Libyan desert, at least the Egyptian desert, and finally makes a delta, right? Say for example, n number of deserts it flows through. So it is a variation of factors, right? It can be the prevailing climate, it can be the volume of water it is carrying, or it can be the loss of gradient also. But here, Indian case, if you ask me, I would say it is all about volume of water and the prevailing climate. Okay, right, my dear friends. Now, east flowing and west flowing rivers, somewhere I have an idea. Again, I'm insisting which river are more in number, right? West flowing rivers. But only thing is that, as I said, west flowing rivers are not so popular rivers. Okay, right, my dear friends. So this is one classification. Then comes the popular classification, Himalayan rivers versus peninsular rivers. See, Himalayan rivers, sometimes you may also call it as extra peninsular rivers. Right? You call them as what? Extra peninsular rivers. And see, most of the, not necessarily that all these rivers are starting from a glacier, But most of these Himalayan rivers are starting from a glacier. Because of the fact that India is located in a tropical country, even during winter, sometime during the daytime, right? Even during winter, some amount of melting of glacier will take place. If that is the case, Himalayan rivers are generally perennial rivers. Perennial rivers means what? I'll be having a water flowing throughout the year. Whereas peninsular rivers are non-perennial rivers. It means they are seasonal rivers. I already said why it is perennial, because they are fed by glaciers. But I should understand, my dear friends, it is not only fed by glacier, it is also fed by monsoon. But whereas peninsular rivers, they are fed only by what? Monsoon. Himalayan river, generally we say, Himalayan river, the river water regime is very low. If you ask me what exactly is this river water regime, maybe as a layman, I would say that fluctuation of water, you call them as what? River water regime. Fluctuation. Right? Why you are saying fluctuation is very less? I am talking about a situation where exactly I am experiencing flood-like situation, if you ask me. Okay, no problem. See, peninsular rivers versus extra peninsular rivers, that is Himalayan rivers. What is the maximum water that any river can carry? Maximum water or maximum percentage, if you ask me. Any river can carry up to 100 percentage. Any river, be it peninsular rivers or Himalayan rivers. But peninsular rivers can at times become 0 percentage. But here, my dear friends, never Himalayan river becomes 0 percentage. If that is the case, see the fluctuation. Which river fluctuates more? Peninsular rivers fluctuates more. That's the reason we say peninsular rivers have more river water regime, whereas Himalayan rivers has minimum river water regime. Okay. And see, this river water regime is the one which somewhere determines the navigability. It determines the navigability. Okay. When I say navigability, my dear friends, obviously you know, I know, everybody know that Himalayan rivers or northern rivers are more navigable. Peninsular rivers are less navigable. And I also know the fact, most of these facts, you know, only things that I'm consolidating. Himalayan rivers are more prone to flood, whereas peninsular rivers are less prone to flood. And given the age, my dear friends, Himalayan rivers are generally, comparatively, it is younger than the peninsular rivers. Because what determines the age of the river is the age of the feature. The age of the feature is less, the age of the river will also less, will be less. We do have an exception to it. We have something called as antecedent river system. That comes as an exception. But otherwise, barring that antecedent river systems, right, Himalayan rivers are generally young rivers, whereas peninsular rivers are mature rivers. So what is west flowing rivers? East flowing rivers? What is this Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers? Both we have taken it. Okay. Now, my dear friends, see this patterns of drainage and all outrightly I have left it. But let me tell you, my dear friends, for examination purpose, I'll give you what are the rivers that is important for the examination purpose. I'll tell you, obviously, right? Indus. Again, I believe that Indus this year is also going to be important. Only 7 rivers I'm just giving you. Why Indus is important this year? Because Indus Water Treaty is somewhere, say for example, recommended to be amended again. 1960s treaty is somewhere recommended for amendment further. Okay. If that is the case, Indus along with its tributaries and distributaries, it is going to be very, very important for me this year. Then obviously, evergreen, if I just talk about it, Ganga. Ganga is also important. And when I talk about, say, for example, Brahmaputra, Brahmaputra is also very, very important. When I say all these rivers, my dear friends, how exactly I should prepare for these rivers, let me tell you. First, identify the source of the river. Indus, where exactly it is originating from. Then the course of the river. What are the states through which it is flowing through? Right? Then three, my dear friends, one of some of the very important places which is located along this river. When I say places, it can be a very important city or a very popular places as such. Or it can be a national park, wildlife sanctuary, or biospheric reserve. Right? Or sometimes even some very important reservoirs and dams which is constructed across this river is also very, very important. And my dear friends, finally, the tributaries and distributaries, not all important tributaries and distributaries of these rivers are also very, very important. And if the tributary is important, again you have to repeat that exercise. Only 7 rivers I'm telling you, not every river. Okay. And when it comes to peninsular part of India, my dear friends, it is, right, I'll put it in geographical order. Mahanadi, then Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri. Right? Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri. Right? So these are the rivers which you have to somewhere take it very important when it comes to the peninsula. So totally I am giving you 7 rivers. So most of the time, if you analyze the past year's questions and other question paper that is set by UPSC, you'll be finding that, say, for example, these rivers are given more focus. Okay. Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra, along with its tributaries and distributaries, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri. Okay. So these rivers kindly, say for example, have a special reference of the same. Alright, my dear friends. Now, after talking about the basic difference between Himalayan and peninsular rivers, my dear friends, I will try to understand what exactly is a drainage basin. What is a drainage basin? Sometimes you call them as what? River basin. You call them as a river basin. See, it is more like, say, for example, I'll put it this way, right? The terrace of the building. You have a terrace of a building. It is precipitating heavily. And all the waters that is somewhere, which is somewhere it is collected in your terrace, will be drained by a pipe. Okay. You call them as a drain pipe, whatever it is. My dear friends, the drain pipe, assume that that is a river. And your terrace is a river basin. You call them as a catchment area. Layman's understanding, you call them as a catchment area. You call them as a drainage basin, you call them as what? River basin. So what exactly is a river basin? The combined geographical location which is drained by a river along with its tributaries and distributaries is called as drainage basin. It's an area that is drained by a river. That's it. That's why you call them as what? Drainage basin. Alright. Because see, surface removal of water, you call them as what? Drainage as a system. Rivers, why exactly you call them as a river system, as a drainage system? Because it drains the water. As simple as this. Okay. Now, what is a drainage basin? I have an idea. It is a geographical location which is drained by a river. You call them as what? Drainage basin. Now, based on the area, my dear friends, this river basin can be classified into 3 categories, right? Major, medium, and minor. What is major? Any river basin which has more than 20,000 square kilometer of an area. 20,000 square kilometer of an area, you call them as what? Major river basin. Medium, 2,000 to 20,000, you call them as what? Medium river basin. And very small river basins, less than 2,000 square kilometer of an area, you call them as what? Minor river basin. But what is very important here? Major river basin is very important for us. In India, if you ask me how many major river basins are there, it is 14. Some of the books says 13. Otherwise, I can also give you 13 plus 1. Few books I'll be finding 13, few books I'll be finding 14. What is that one if you ask me? River Luni. If you add river Luni, it becomes 14. If you're not adding river Luni, it becomes what? 13. As simple as this. Right? Now, my dear friends, this 13 or 14 river basin alone drains more than 85% of Indian landmass. More than 85% of Indian landmass it drains. So somewhere I can understand, right? Somewhere less in number, but more in the area that is covered. Right, my dear friends, right? Now, only thing is that these 14 river basins we have to see one by one. We have to see. Okay, so one by one we'll see, my dear friends, what are the 14 river basins as such. Right. See here, I have just gone for a geographical order. 14 major river basins. Number 1, not necessarily size, but in order. Indus is number 1. Ganga is number 2. Gangetic river basin. Brahmaputra is number 3. Then again, if I am just traveling along the coastline, Brahmani. Brahmani is number 4. Mahanadi is number 5. Godavari is 6. Krishna is 7. Pennar or Pennaru is 8. Kaveri is 9. Then again take clockwise turn. Tapi is 10, Narmada is 11, Mahi is 12, Sabarmati is 13, and Luni is 14. So somewhere I am just simply going for a geographical order. Starting from 1 to, simply I am just traveling along the, say for example, the coastline or the outline of India as such. Just travel in the said direction. Okay. All this 14 you will encounter. Okay. All 14 you will encounter. Sir, Indus has a larger basin than Ganga. You're right. But when I talk about India alone, if I just take it, if you ask me what exactly is the combined geographical location, Ganga drains somewhere around 8 lakh and 61,000 square kilometer approximately. This river basin value will be changing every monsoon, but marginal difference will be there. But if you ask me, Indus in India is only 3 lakh and 21,000 square kilometer. And what is very interesting, Godavari, if I just take it, Godavari drains somewhere around 3 lakh and 12,000 square kilometer of an area. Atlas itself, if you're referring your Atlas, I think page number 50, I think, 50. I'm not very sure about it. 50, you'll be finding this river basins of India. There at the bottom of your Atlas, you'll be finding it. Page number, what mostly I'll be talking about, will be matching with the Oxford Student Atlas, edition number 4. Okay, right. See, the difference between Indus and Godavari itself is not so great. And what is very interesting, Indus is a larger river than Godavari, but Godavari is a longer river than Indus. If I just talk about the source to destination, Godavari, from Timbakeshwar Plateau, Timber Plateau to somewhere the deltaic regions of KG Basin, the length what Godavari covers in India is more than what Indus covers in India. Whatever you said is also perfectly right. Right? Aditya Verma. Indus has a larger river basin, but where? If you include China, if you include Pakistan, yes, then Indus has a larger basin than Ganga. But within India, if I just take it, undoubtedly, Ganga is the largest river basin with 8 lakh and 61,000 square kilometer. And the Indus is distant second. Not even near, it is distant second. Third is Godavari, fourth is Krishna. Krishna, if my memory goes good, it's somewhere around 2 lakh and 58,000 square kilometer of an area it drains, approximately. You can check the values in your Atlas also. Okay? Right, my dear friends. Now, I have just given you the geographical order. Right. Somewhere, as I said, that 14 river basin almost drains more than 85% of Indian landmass. Okay, right, my dear friends. Okay, so what are the drainage basins? I have just given it. And one topic I am skipping it. This drainage patterns. See, drainage patterns, normally why we discuss about this drainage pattern? See, nobody asks me drainage pattern. Somewhere discussing about drainage pattern gives you an avenue of discussing about some of the very important rivers. Particularly when I talk about dendritic pattern. Or say for example, trellis pattern. When I talk about trellis pattern, I will be talking about Yamuna subsystem. When I talk about dendritic pattern, my difference, I will be talking about Krishna and Godavari. When I talk about rectangular pattern, I will be talking about Mahanadi and Kaveri. So all these important rivers will be done. Right. Now, coming to the next very important topic, Indian climate. See, when I talk about Indian climate, I can talk about the temporal climate called as seasons. And I can also somewhere distinguish between the different climatic regions in India. So first we'll talk about the seasons in India. How? The temporal variation in the climate we experience. How in 1 year exactly entire India experience different, say for example, seasons as such. Now, you know the fact that when I talk about globally, my dear friends, there are 4 seasons. Of course, we know what are the globally 4 popular seasons out there. You call them as what? In order, spring, followed by summer, followed by autumn, and followed by winter. That's okay. But do you, if at all, if I'm just talking about it, and if you're asking me, say for example, is this summer, winter, spring and autumn is applicable to the all part of the world? If you ask me, no. Even we have come across a place called as equator. You know the fact, equator, there is no concept of season. Every day is more or less similar to the other day as such. Because what is a summer? What is the defining character of summer? Summer is known for longer days. What we are experiencing today, somewhere you can also say, for example, talk about the same. Summer is known for longer days, but winter is known for what? Longer night, shorter days as such. Okay. Equator, all 365 days, what you experience is 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. So there is no concept of summer, there is no concept of winter. Okay. Place to place, the classification of season will change. Again, my dear friends, this seasons in India, it is the national average. Not necessarily that these seasons should be applicable to entire India. No, for example, peninsular part of India. Particularly when I talk about this Malabar plains, when I talk about Coromandel plains, etc. There is no much concept about winter. See, temperature will be slightly mild, right? But there is no true winters. Length of the day is also not that much affected. Conditions are not extremely cold. Right? Winters will be slightly mild. That's it. That's the reason sarcastically we say that Coromandel plains only 3 seasons are there. The sarcastic way of saying, they say that it is the 3 seasons are hot, hotter and hottest. Okay. So somewhere you do not have anything called as cold condition persisting. Why? Because 2 reasons are there. One, the peninsular part of India is very close to equator. The places which is very close to equator, the variation in the length of day and night during summer and winter is not so great. Number one. Number two, peninsular part of India comes more under the effectivity of water. Water maintains temperature. Fluctuation of temperature is least in water. Water do not become so warm. Water do not become so cold. Okay. Now, somewhere I was just telling you that, say, for example, seasons are, say, for example, region specific. The seasons are not applicable to all parts of the country as such. But whatever is the case, whatever the seasons, what I am just giving you, say, for example, it is largely applicable to the larger segment of the country. In that way, what are the 4 seasons? We have dry winters, dry summers, advancing monsoon and retreating monsoon. Advancing monsoon is nothing but what? Southwest monsoon. Retreating monsoon is nothing but what? Northeastern monsoon. Okay. These are the 4 seasons in India. And when exactly you experience this dry winter, I'll tell you. You experience dry winter somewhere from the middle of December to middle of March. Dry winters. Then when exactly dry summers? Middle of March to middle of June. So March, middle of March is that time when there is a transition happens from winter to summer. And that transition we celebrate by a festival of color called as what? Holi. So Holi marks the end of winters and somewhere it welcomes that summer. Right? Then say, for example, middle of June to middle of September, we have this advancing monsoon, my dear friends. Call them a southwest monsoon. And somewhere middle of September to middle of December, we have this retreating monsoon or northeastern monsoon. See, 4 seasons, dry winters, dry summer, advancing monsoon, retreating monsoon. But see the dates, middle of December, middle of March, middle of June, middle of September. You remember, December 22nd, if not middle, December 22nd, March 21st, June 21st, right? And September 23rd. These dates are very important, right? December 22nd, my dear friends, peak winter day of Northern Hemisphere, winter solstice. March 21st, you call them as what? Spring equinox or vernal equinox. June 21st, we call them as what? Summer solstice. And September 23rd, we call them as what? Autumn equinox. So that somewhere the days are what? More or less it is matching with the global seasons what we have taken it. Okay, so 4 seasons are there. Only things that I have to understand the very important characters of these 4 seasons, right? So number one, when I talk about this dry winter, my dear friends, dry winters. So when exactly I have this dry winter, as I already said, from middle of December to middle of March. So normally what you experience is a low sun position, angle of sun's angle at which the sun's rays will be falling will be what? Somewhere it is inclined. Always I will be having a low sun position, right? The angle of sun's rays will be what? right? Always it will be inclined, my dear friends. It will be inclined. So because you experience inclined sun's rays, low sun position, generally what you experience is a low temperature. Okay. Because of this low temperature, normally, my dear friends, the northern plains of India generally experience what? High pressure. One universal logic. Whenever you experience high pressure, right? Pressure. See, pressure is not always resulted by temperature. That is very important. It is always not resulted by temperature. Even I have pressure belts which is mechanically created. You call them as thermal indirect, subtropical high and subpolar low are the pressure belts which we call them as what? Thermal indirect. They are not resulted due to temperature as such. Even the mechanical action can create what? Pressure. So, what I'm just trying to say, forget about the temperature. Wherever I have high pressure will be resulting in what? Dry condition. Right? Now, because of the low pressure, a high pressure is created, sorry, excuse me, because of the low temperature, high pressure is created in northern plains of India. Now I can understand why exactly this season is what? Dry. It is all because of the high pressure that is created in the larger Gangetic plain as such. But still, if you ask me, is this season is completely dry? No. The season is not completely dry. This is a season when you experience a precipitation called as western disturbance. What is western disturbance? A precipitation or a disturbance that comes from, say, for example, the west. Or put it very simply, the winter precipitation in India, the winter rainfall in India is very popularly called as western disturbance. See, for example, places like Ladakh, even places like Karakoram, etc., Trans-Himalayan regions. These are Trans-Himalayan regions. Yesterday's class we talked about. These are the places which is located in the leeward side of the great mountains or Himadri, great Himalayas, leeward side. So by the time this wind reaches that place, this wind becomes very dry. It means places like regions like Ladakh, Karakoram, etc., they do not receive precipitation from southwest monsoon. Southwest monsoon is the single largest source of precipitation to entire India, but Ladakh and Karakoram do not receive precipitation from southwest monsoon. But still they receive precipitation. What is the major source of precipitation for Ladakh, if you ask me? It is the western disturbance. Winter precipitation in India, we call them as what? Western disturbance. See, we have two ways this precipitation is resulted. Most important one is a precipitation that is brought by this subtropical jet stream. Source from subtropical jet stream. Almost this moisture actually comes from what? Mediterranean Sea. Almost the moisture it collects from the Mediterranean Sea, my dear friends. Right? And say, for example, it facilitates some precipitation in what? Northwestern part of India. So sourced from where, if you ask me? Sourced from, right, Mediterranean Sea. And of course, sometimes what happens is onshore wind or onshore westerlies from Arabian Sea can also result in that precipitation. But this is very rare. You leave it. This also you can leave it. But western disturbance, the major source comes from Mediterranean Sea. And what is that wind? Carries that moisture from Mediterranean Sea, right, and delivers in India, if you ask me. It is subtropical jet stream. Even jet stream which flows in the tropopause level. Even jet stream can bring what? Precipitation. Okay? Right, my dear friends. So it's all about dry winters. And finally, when I talk about western disturbance, somewhere I said winter precipitation in India, we call them as what? Western disturbance. Okay. So which part of India experienced that winter precipitation, if you ask me? Experienced that winter or western disturbance, if you ask me? This northwestern part of India. See, this northwestern part of India, what I have marked it here, is very important because northwestern part of India is that part of India which experienced true winter. If it experienced true winter, my dear friends, I can understand that this is the place which will be normally known also for what? Rabi crops. See, what I have just taken is very theoretical lines. Entire India I have just divided into 4 quadrants. One, I have divided along the central meridian of India as east and west of India, eastern part and western part of India. And Tropic of Cancer I have taken to divide between the north and southern part of India. Okay. That's the reason I said northwestern part of India is the one which experienced what? Winter precipitation. Northwestern part of India. Sorry, slightly. When I said it is more theoretical in nature, somewhere I can be very practical, right? Let me mark it here. These are the places what you may experience what? This true winter. True winter. Okay. Slightly you can extend also. If you want to add more of Bihar or complete Bihar also, you can add it. Okay. So this is that place of India which experience true winter. This is that part of India which also experience what? Winter precipitation. Simply you put it, northwestern part of India. Okay. Right, my dear friends. Now, dry winter is over. Now coming to dry summers. What exactly we are experiencing nowadays is what? Dry summers. So most of the phenomena, what I'll be discussing here, you might relate it with what exactly happens. For example, when exactly you experience this dry summer as a period? Dry summer as a period extends between middle of March to middle of June. So this is a time when you experience what? High sun position, my dear friends. High sun position. It means slowly, steadily, the sun will start claiming in the sky. The angle at which the sun's rays will be falling will what? Start increasing. Am I right? See, I am just putting it as though it is perpendicular, not exactly perpendicular, but high sun position. Winter slanting sun's rays, but summer slightly the angle of sun's rays will be higher. Okay. And what happens, my dear friends? It will be creating a high temperature. That's the reason it is very warm, very hot, right? Very hot. But say, for example, it is too early to create the presence of a permanent low pressure. That's the reason, say, for example, we do not have the creation of the low pressure on a permanent basis. Permanent in the sense, relatively permanent basis. That's the reason you experience what? Dry condition, right? Name itself says dry summer. Dry summer is known for what? Warm and dry condition. When the condition is warm, the moisture content is very less. Obviously speaking, there is a chance that you may experience what? Heat waves. Am I right? Right now, every time IMD gives you a warning saying that heat wave, right? Try to say, for example, almost as you move towards the end of May, things will become worst and worst, right? So, for example, only this monsoon will give you some relief. This year, slightly, say, for example, 3 days or 4 days of delay, the monsoon is anticipated, right? Even today, morning, it was there in news. Okay. It is known for heat waves, my dear friends. The season is known for heat waves. Okay. And my dear friends, this season is also known for hailstorm. Large chunk of ice will be falling in the sky. Why? Because hailstorm will normally happen wherever you experience a very strong rising convection. And now comes another question. Where exactly you will be having a very strong rising convection, if you ask me? Wherever you have very high temperature, there all you may have a very strong rising convection as such. So hailstorm, Delhi again. So many examples. Delhi, I would say that, say for example, all conditions what you somewhere see, except this coastal climatic conditions like cyclone and others, every geographical phenomena you can see in Delhi. Hailstorm you can see, right? Somewhere convectional precipitation you can see. Warm and dry condition you can experience. Cold and dry condition you can experience. You can experience the advent of loo, right? So many things. Okay, whatever it is the case, right? Hailstorm is also very common. And my dear friends, this is a season when the coastal areas, not the continental interiors, but the coastal areas, somewhere if it is creating a low pressure because of the high temperature, sometimes these coastal areas can somewhere attract the moisture laden wind from the adjoining region. Okay. Aditya Verma, equatorial high convection. Equatorial, equator high convection. Right. Right. See here, what you're saying is correct. At equator, convection will happen. But I should understand. Equatorial region, why convection? The place where exactly where convection takes place, I call them as what? ITCZ. This ITCZ is not always confined to equator. When Tropic of Cancer or the sun's vertical rays, if it starts moving towards Tropic of Cancer, this ITCZ will also start moving towards north. And somewhere I told you, right, while explaining the monsoon, this ITCZ or equatorial low, my dear friend, generally it shifts 5 to 10 degree north of equator. Assume that this is equator. Generally, it shifts 5 to 10 degrees north of the equator, but in Indian subcontinent, it takes one exceptional bend. And this exceptional bend is even beyond the Tropic of Cancer, even beyond. What is the reason for this exceptional bend? Size of continental size of Asia. Okay. So when this ITCZ somewhere passes through Delhi, my dear friends, or obviously, this ITCZ given a time, for example, from equator, if it is going to Tibetan region, obviously it should surpass Bhopal, it should surpass Delhi, it should surpass almost all the cities of India. Correct. So that time, the convectional rainfall will be experiencing. Right? Okay. Right, my dear friends. Now, when I talk about dry summers, though I use this word called as dry, entire India is not dry. Some of the coastal regions experience some precipitation, right? Because of the local pressure systems that is created near the coastal areas itself, and the moisture from the oceanic region, Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal, will be entering the respective coastline. Okay. In that way, my dear friends, some of the favorable local winds. So the favorable local winds, we have this mango showers. Mango showers. And one more thing, see, all these local winds, if you take it, you'll be finding that most of them, they are named after the plantation crop. Why, I'll tell you. Because see, for example, normally we have a cropping seasons. We have Kharif crop, we have Rabi crop, we have Zaid crop. Okay. Kharif is advancing monsoon or monsoon crop, you call them as what? Kharif crop. Dry winter crop, you call them as what? Rabi crop. Dry summer crop, you call them as what? Zaid crop. Okay. Every crop has their own, say, for example, almost the geographical condition needed. For example, Rabi crop, mostly it is a temperate crop. It grows in a cooler condition. Not extremely cold, but generally it somewhere grows in not so warm region. And the water needed for these crops are very limited. So it needs what? Cold and dry condition for its growth. That's the reason it is cultivated during dry winters as such. Then when I talk about Zaid crop, horticultural crops, flowering plants, am I right? The seasonal fruits and vegetables, all these are means almost cultivated during what? Dry summers. Why dry summer? Because flowering plants, my dear friends, normally we'll be talking about agriculture later. When I talk about flowering plants, they need longer length of a day. Summers. Then, if precipitation happens, these flowers will be detached from the plants as such. It will start falling down. Alright, the very purpose of flowering itself is what? Defeated. That's the reason normally precipitation, somewhere it is not so favorable during the season of flowering. During the season of ripening, it is good, but not during the season of flowering. Okay. And hailstorm also, heavy precipitation during the time of flowering is very harmful because it will be detaching the flowers from the plants. Okay, whatever it is the case. These are cropping seasons. But when I talk about plantation crops, what is a plantation crop? Definition says a crop which is cultivated in a larger estate-like condition, you call them as what? Plantation crop. Okay, accepted. You call them as a plantation crop. I'm not denying the fact. But maybe as a layman, if I want to understand what is a plantation crop, I can say any plant that is cultivated or somewhere standing in a region, right? Any region, if it is standing in a region for more than 3 years, we call them as a plantation crop. It means plantation crops generally witness all seasons. Dry summer, dry winter, advancing monsoon, retreating monsoon, all seasons it witness. Right? If you ask me what exactly, which is that season which will be slightly challenging for this plantation crop, if you ask me, for the survival, very survival, dry summer will be challenging because precipitation will be very less during this season or almost negligible. Okay, but the loss of water through the transpiration as a process will be very, very high. So somewhere the very survival will be threatened during this dry summer as a period. So if at all, if some precipitation brings, say for example, an element of relief to plantation crop, and that precipitation will be a favorable precipitation. And that's the reason whichever plantation crop is getting benefited out of that local precipitation, that local precipitation is named after the plantation crop itself. In that way, that's the reason you call them as a mango showers. So where all you experience is mango showers, generally Maharashtra, no two books gives you the same data. Goa, Karnataka, and parts of Tamil Nadu, my dear friends. Province, parts of Tamil Nadu. Okay. So these are some of the places which experience what? Mango showers. And one more thing, that doesn't mean that, say, for example, this showers will be searching the mango plantation. Wherever mango plantation is there, it will be showering. Not like that. The place where exactly this showers is happening, largely you will be finding this mango cultivation. That's it. Then tea shower, right? Either you call them as tea shower or you also call them as what? Bardoli chira. You call them as a Bardoli chira. By the time I say tea, I'm there in West Bengal, Darjeeling Hills of West Bengal. I'm there in Assam, right? Assam and West Bengal experiences tea showers. Then blossom shower. Blossom shower is also called as cherry blossom. Don't get carried away by this name. This word cherry blossom or blossom shower is beneficial for coffee plantation. See, because when the coffee bean, my dear friends, when it ripens, right, it looks like a bunch of cherry. That's the reason you call them as what? Cherry blossom or blossom showers. All these winds, what I have taken the name, they are beneficial winds. They are favorable winds. But we do have unfavorable winds. Like, for example, we have a wind like Kal Baisakhi. Kal Baisakhi, or sometimes you call them as what? Nor'wester. See, Kal means black, right? Talks about a type of cloud called as cumulonimbus clouds. Very dark cloud. Why exactly these clouds are very dark, if you ask me? Because this cloud is so thick. It doesn't allow the sun's rays to penetrate. That's the reason it looks very dark in nature. Cumulonimbus cloud. So Baisakhi is a month. So cumulonimbus cloud or cumulonimbus or this Kal Baisakhi is more like a cyclonic precipitation what you experience in what? West Bengal. Somewhere you call them as what? Nor'wester. Right? If you start separating the word, somewhere it says that it comes from what? Northwestern direction. Then you have to have a wind called as Lu, my dear friends. Lu is a kind of a dusty wind. You call them as a dusty wind. Wherever you have a desert, sandy desert particularly, you will be having, say, for example, dry summers. Moisture content will be very less. If moisture is more, the sand may not get deflated in the air that much easily. Because the sand will start absorbing the moisture. If it absorbs the moisture, the sand becomes heavier. So the sand will start settling down. Right? It will not, say, for example, gets deflated. But dry summers, because the moisture is very less, the sand will be very easily deflated. And of course, from Thar Desert, the larger part of the Gangetic Plain gets affected by what? This dusty wind called as Lu. And my dear friends, this season is also known for more number of cyclones, cyclogenesis. Very recently we had a cyclone. I cannot call it as V, but at least Bay of Bengal we had this cyclone called as what? Mocha. Or you call them as what? Mocha, whatever it is the case. You call them as Mocha, Mocha, right? Because this season is known for what? Cyclogenesis. See, when I talk about cyclones, either the cyclones you'll be having in the month of May, right? Or you'll be having the cyclones in the month of what? October and November, right? 15 days plus or minus 15 days or 1 month also I can add it. Okay. So this is the time when exactly you will be having the genesis of cyclones. Okay. That's all about dry summers, my dear friends. All about dry summers. Coming to the most important season, the wettest spell of India. You call them as what? Advancing monsoon. In the last class itself, I said, by default, when I talk about Indian monsoon, this Indian monsoon means southwest monsoon. Because the southwest monsoon covers nearly 90% of the Indian landmass. 90%, near complete India. Am I right? What is southwest monsoon as a mechanism? We have already read. When I say southwest monsoon as a mechanism, my dear friends, mechanism, it is all about the deflected trade wind. The southeastern trade of southern hemisphere, when it enters northern hemisphere under the effect of Coriolis force, gets deflected towards right and flows as southwest monsoon. So southwest monsoon is nothing but deflected trade wind of southern hemisphere, that we know. Okay. One more question, sir. For prelims, up to what month current affairs ought to be read? See, practically speaking, we have the examination on May 20th. Given the vast geographical size of Asia Until now, say for example, UPSC, at least examinations are conducted in the physical format. So that this question paper has to be printed. It has to be, say for example, somewhere it has to be prepared. Proofreading has to be done, right? And somewhere it has to be printed, it has to be distributed, and so on. And even translation, they have to do it. All right? Because it is printed in bilingual in nature. So normally we believe that the question paper setting will be somewhere stopping before 1 month. It means I believe that somewhere around April 30th will be the cutoff date for your current affairs, right? April 30th, right? So April 30th is the cutoff date for current affairs. But see, this is my personal opinion, right? Out of my experience, I'm just telling you, right? But whatever it is the case, I would prefer that you take, say, for example, the informations or the fact what exactly your current affairs faculty gives. But I strongly believe that the questions gets concentrated in this pattern. 5 plus 3 plus 2. Totally 10 months. Am I right? It means 5 months before the examination, or say for example, I'll put it this way, right? December to April. Right? If I just take this 5 months, it is very, very important. Another 3 months if I just take it. For example, if I just start from, right, maybe I'll put it this way, right? September to November. September, October, November. If I just add it, another 3 months. September, October, and November, my friends, this is the time when exactly you'll be having more of this, right? Nobel laureates, and most of the science and technology questions can be based on this Nobel laureate as such. Then slightly I can give more emphasis on, say, for example, July and August. July and August. It means if you want to leave it, May and June, you can leave it. I'm not saying that questions may not be asked, right? Of course, see, we had instances where, in the name of current affairs, we had a 2 years old, say, for example, news and 3 years old news. That is a bouncer, right? That is a bouncer. Leaving the bouncer is the best way of playing the game. Okay. Attending all the questions is irrational, my dear friends. Take it for granted that last few years cutoff has not crossed somewhere around 45%. But by all means, I would say somewhere, whatever. And one more thing, this year the number of vacancies is also very high. After 9 years, what I have is 1,105 given an official notification, right? Eventually, it will also increase further. But after 9 years, my dear friends, highest number of vacancies has come. So somewhere I believe that cutoff may still come down, but that depends on one more factor called as, right, the degree of difficulty of the examination. But whatever I'm telling you, if you're somewhere, if you're 50 percentage above plus, you are safe. Double safe. You are double safe. Okay. It means what? Out of 100 questions, what I have to get net is what? 50. Accordingly, you play your game, my dear friend. See, preliminary examination is all about strategy. Knowledge is 80 percentage. Strategy is 20 percentage. But what is interesting, the result is decided by this 20 percentage over and above this 80 percentage. Knowledge is very important. Without knowledge, you cannot clear this examination. But only with the knowledge also, you cannot clear this examination. It is all about strategy. Okay. Now, having said this, coming back, right? 10 months current affairs, as I said, 5 plus 3 plus 2. I believe that, okay, if not for other subjects, geography, this should be more than enough. Right. Now, coming to this advancing monsoon. Again, monsoon, I believe that, say, for example, this year monsoon is again coming to limelight for the simple reason we are there in the period of El Nino, right? El Nino after 2018, right? Again, we are talking about El Nino. Okay, so El Nino, La Nina, Indian Ocean dipole, positive and negative phase, right? Modoki, right? Madden-Julian oscillation, right? These are some of the topics. What is what? 110% they'll not ask you technical. They'll not ask you technical. You take the question paper. Question paper analysis is always will give you more insight, right? It'll enlighten. It'll open your mind. It'll try to understand or it'll make you to understand what UPSC is all about. Start loving UPSC, my dear friends. Right? Start believing UPSC. Okay. So somewhere you'll try understanding what exactly UPSC is expecting from you. One thing you will understand, it is not technical. See, sometimes one or two question and all, it can be so technical. But let me tell you, exceptions are not examples. One, based on one or two questions, do not judge that, okay, this examination is all about, say, for example, being difficult and all. I'm telling you, out of 100 questions, 20 to 25 questions will be direct, very easy. Am I right? That means, say for example, 20 to 25 already you got it, so easy questions. And say for example, another 20 questions will be slightly, right, medium, right. Then say for example, 10, 15 questions will be difficult, and some of the questions will be very difficult. Don't worry about the very difficult questions, right. We have, say for example, very easy and medium questions are the one you have to concentrate more. Take it from me, this paper is largely general in nature, right? Okay. So one or two questions also I'll show you, right, if it is possible here. Now, advancing monsoon, you call them as a southwest monsoon. What is monsoon? The last class when we talked about this climatology, we say for example, we understood. Now see, when I talk about the southwest monsoon, what is southwest monsoon? I know. The mechanism of monsoon we understood. Now see, my dear friends, here monsoon normally, say for example, it branches out into two different branches. One, it enters from Arabian Sea, you call them as what? Arabian Sea branch. And which enters from Bay of Bengal, you call them as what? Bay of Bengal branch. Again, this Arabian Sea branch further branches out into three other branches. One, you call them as what? Sahyadri or Western Ghats branch. Two, you call them as Central Indian branch. Three, you call them as what? Kathiawar branch. Again, Bay of Bengal, again trifurcates into three. Utkal branch, Meghalayan branch, Myanmar or Arunachal Pradesh, Arunachal branch. Okay. This much detail is not needed. What we'll do for, say for example, general studies, we'll take only two. Arabian Sea branch and Bay of Bengal branch. Now what is very important here, when I talk about peninsular part of India, my dear friends, peninsular part of India, the major source, the larger source is Arabian Sea branch. Whereas, when I talk about northern plains of India, the major source of wind is what? Bay of Bengal branch. Okay. And one more thing, the name of the wind is southwest monsoon. Is this southwest monsoon completely flowing in southwestern direction in India, if you ask me? No. Only in peninsular part of India and the northwestern part of India, this wind flows in southwestern direction. Interestingly, in Gangetic plain, this wind flows as southeast in direction. So the so-called southwestern monsoon is not completely westerly. We do have the easterly portion of the wind. That's the reason. Peninsular part of India, when I talk about the precipitation distribution, anybody can answer. When the wind enters from Arabian Sea to the peninsular part of India, I know one thing, precipitation will decrease from what? West to east. It means, where exactly I'll be having par moist climatic condition, more precipitation will be there on what? West. Very wet. Similarly, when I talk about Bay of Bengal, it will be entering from what? East to west. So where exactly I'll be having more wet location is what? Towards the eastern side. Okay. And later you will understand that these are the two places in India where I'll be having this evergreen forest. Okay. Evergreen forest. Right, my dear friends. Now, precipitation distribution also, if I just take it, if you're there in Gangetic plains, the precipitation decreases from east to west. If you are there in peninsular part of India, the precipitation decreases from west to east. Very important. Because peninsular part of India, the major source of precipitation is Arabian Sea branch. Whereas northern plains of India, the major source of precipitation is what? Bay of Bengal branch. Now you may wonder why this wind is changing the course of the direction. Two reasons are there. Number one, it is because of the presence of the local vortex. And number two, very important and more acceptable reason, my dear friends, it is all because of the presence of Himalayas. Himalayan orientation itself changes. Because Himalaya direction differs and changes, this wind also changes its direction. Right? These are the two reasons which is cited. Okay. And my dear friends, when exactly the first monsoonal shower, even today's newspaper, right, morning you would have somewhere, it would have been there. Normally, on an average, when exactly this monsoon will be starting, India will start experiencing the first monsoonal showers. Mainland India, it is June 1st. June 1st, somewhere, say for example, in Malabar coast. June 1st in Malabar coast, Kerala. Kerala. So Kerala or Malabar coast is the first place in India, mainland India, the monsoon will be entering from. So it is a gateway of southwest monsoon in India, right? Malabar coast. When? June 1st. So this year, it is anticipated it will be coming on June 4th. It is delayed by somewhere around, say for example, 3 days. It should come on first, it is coming on fourth. That is also anticipation. Am I right? So normally slight delay. There's a slight delay in the monsoon. Otherwise, generally it is June 1st as such. Now, when we talk about the precipitation distribution and some of the very important facts here, right? Let me talk about the same. Number one, as you already know, more than 90% of Indian landmass, more than 90% of Indian landmass receives precipitation from southwest monsoon. It is the single largest source of precipitation. Nearly 75% of Indian annual precipitation. India's annual precipitation is contributed by what? Southwestern monsoon. 75%. It means it gives you 3/4 of the precipitation of entire India. What exactly in 1 year you receive? Southwest monsoon gives you 75% of it. Right? 90% land it covers. But still I understand. If it covers 90%, there are 10% of land which is not receiving precipitation from what? Southwest monsoon. What are the reason? Ladakh, as I already repeatedly I was talking about Ladakh. Because Ladakh is located on the other side, the leeward side of this mountain. Laul and Spiti Valley, my dear friends. Himachal Pradesh. Laul and Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh also do not experience what? Do not receive. Because again, Laul and Spiti Valley is also located on the leeward side of what? This Great Himalayas. Then Coromandel Plains, Tamil Nadu. Why Coromandel Plains? Because monsoonal wind almost flows parallel to the Coromandel Plains. And even if, say, for example, if the wind is trying to enter the Coromandel Plains, the more elevated, say, for example, the Western Ghats may not allow the same. We have Anamalai, we have Cardamom Hills, may not allow it to enter. So, because this southwest monsoon flows parallel, right, even places like Tamil Nadu or Coromandel Plains also do not receive precipitation as such. Then when I talk about precipitation distribution, my dear friends, precipitation distribution, right? Already I said in peninsular part of India, precipitation generally decreases from west to east because the major source of precipitation is Arabian Sea branch, right? Whereas along the west coast, already we have seen the precipitation decreases from south to north. Why? It is all because of the height of Western Ghats. You remember? When I talk about height of Western Ghats decreases from what? South to north, right? That's the reason, my difference. In northern plains of India, the precipitation decreases from east to west. See, in examination, somewhere if you're forgetting this fact, the distribution facts, if you're forgetting, always correlated. For example, if you're there in India, peninsular part of India, where exactly we have this far moist climatic condition, right? West coast is very wet, I know. When I talk about northern parts of India, where exactly I have this wettest condition, right? Tropical rainforest is confined to what? Northeastern state. On the other hand, when talk about, say, for example, the western side, what I have is a dry condition, desert. See the difference. West is wet, the eastern side or northeastern states are very wet. But when I talk about Rajasthan, it is what? Dry. So precipitation decreases from what? East to west. When I talk about peninsular part of India, precipitation decreases from what? West to east. So even in examination, somewhere you try remembering, okay, this is what? Somewhere I remember. If I'm just going by that logic, I can very easily, remember the same. Right? Right, my dear friends. Now, all this, right, precipitation distribution, everything about southwest monsoon we have taken. Then comes northeastern monsoon, my dear friends. You call them as what? Retreating monsoon. So when exactly you experience this northeastern monsoon? Somewhere middle of September, to middle of December. Again, you know the mechanism. Northeastern monsoon is all about re-established northeastern trade. It is re-established northeastern trade. You call them as what? Northeastern monsoon. See the direction in which this northeastern trade flows. Entire India, this wind is an offshore wind. But when talk about Coromandel Plains, this wind is more like what? Onshore. It is an onshore wind. Okay, right. That's the reason. Normally we say, right, when entire India is wet, Coromandel Plains will be dry. When entire India is dry, Coromandel Plains will be wet. Amount of precipitation somewhere received in comparison to the similar regions are more or less same, right? But only thing is that there is a seasonal difference, right? When I talk about, say, for example, November, December, October, November, December will be wet when it comes to Coromandel plains. Because given the direction, I understand, say, for example, this wind is more like onshore. Okay. And right, my dear friends, apart from that, that's what I'm just giving you. I talk about onshore effectivity and one more thing. That's the reason. This onshore wind is the one, my dear friends, which has also facilitated the formation of one evergreen forest here. Evergreen forest here. What is interesting? This evergreen forest, actually speaking, you call them as what? Dry evergreen forest. Very interesting. Evergreen forest itself will be present only in the wet location. But this forest, what I have in the eastern side, you call them as what? Dry evergreen forest. You call them as what? East Deccan evergreen forest. You are there in the eastern side of Deccan, right? East Deccan evergreen forest. That's what the name it carries. Okay. What exactly facilitates this dry evergreen forest here, if you ask me? See, dry and evergreen, it looks as though I am talking about a condition of oxymoron. Two opposite words trying to say, for example, coexist together. It is not an oxymoron, it is a reality. Okay, right. Fine, my dear friends. Now, where exactly I'll be having this onshore effectivity of this northeastern trade wind or northeastern monsoon, I've said. Coromandel coast and parts of coastal Andhra Pradesh. Right? Parts of coastal Andhra and Coromandel coast. And my dear friends, some of the other weather phenomena, what you experience during this season, I'll tell you. Other weather phenomena. The season is known for more number of cyclones. More number of cyclones. This May month and all, what you will be having is only limited, say for example, number of cyclones, right? But say for example here, you'll be having more number of cyclones. Then we do experience a weather phenomena called as October heat. You call them as what? October heat. What is this October heat? I'll tell you. A hot and humid condition, right? When I talk about hot and humid condition, that is experienced in Gangetic Plain in the month of October, you call them as what? October heat. Hot and humid. See, why it is hot, I'll tell you. Why it is hot, I'll tell you. Because southwest monsoon, advancing monsoon, say for example, all parts of India it will be covering. That's what you call them as what? Advancing monsoon. Slowly, slowly. From peninsular part of India, it starts. The IT season will be moving towards north, north, north and north. So all the cloud covers will also covering the entire length and breadth of this country. Retreating monsoon, what happens? It will start leaving India. The monsoon will start leaving in India. So what happens in the month of October? Gangetic Plain will be slightly devoid of this cloud. So once the clouds are removed from the Gangetic Plain, the insolation received will be more, it will be hot. Humid. You can experience humid condition only if southwest monsoon is successful. If southwest monsoon delivers the desired, say for example, amount of moisture, then you will be experiencing humid condition, right? If southwest monsoon itself is a failure, you may not experience this humid condition. So one fact I understand here, October heat is a kind of a geographical indicator. Don't take this geographical indicator otherwise, okay? I should say, okay, it is a climatological indicator. Maybe I'll put it this way, right? It is a climatological indicator. If I experience October heat in Gangetic Plain, it means that year monsoon is successful. If you do not experience October heat, it means that year monsoon has failed. By what correlation? As I already said, if humid condition is not there, it means the desired moisture is not brought by the monsoon. It's a failure. If it is humid, it means yes, enough moisture has been brought by the southwest monsoon. That's what the idea is. Okay. So this is all about the northeastern monsoon, and with this, the seasons of India, we are just completing it. Then coming to the last segment of this climatic regions. What is the best way to remember, mark climatic regions? I think. What is the best way? See, first, let's somewhere remember the exceptions, because exceptions will not be too many in numbers. Very limited, say for example, exceptions I'll be having it. In that way, my dear friends. In that way, When talk about, say, for example, the exceptions as such. India as a country, we call them as a tropical monsoonal type of a country. Entire India is tropical. That's what we say. Normally we say unity in diversity. The unifying factor for entire India is this temperature. Warm, hot. Am I right? One of the unifying factor. Okay. Point what I'm just trying to say. Dividing different climatic regions of India based on temperature may not be rational, may not be logical. See, mountain type of climate is completely different. I'm talking about the rest of the India. So temperature based classification may not play a very important role, but precipitation based classification can somewhere be meaningful. In that way, depending upon the amount of precipitation received, say for example, these regions can be divided into 4 categories: arid, semi-arid, moist, par moist. Arid and semi-arid means dry. Moist and par moist means wet. Then what is arid? Semi-arid means dry. Then what is very arid? Very simple. You add one very here. Right? What is arid? Very dry. Then what is par moist? Very wet. Okay. So very dry, arid. Dry, semi-arid. Wet, moist. Very wet, par moist. Right? I have just given some value also. Approximately this value. Just for simplicity, I have just given this value. Approximately these values will be matching. In that way, when I talk about this, say for example, the values, my dear friends, any place which receives less than 50 centimeters of annual precipitation, we call them as what? Arid. Right? Somewhere double that of 50. Up to 100, you call them as what? Semi-arid. Double that of 100. Up to 200, you call them as what? Moist or subhumid. More than 200, right? More than 200, you call them as what? Par moist or humid. Okay. The simple way of somewhere understanding, right? Up to 50, arid. Double that of 50, 100, semi-arid. Double that of 100, 200, moist. More than 200, par moist. Okay. In that way, very dry, wet, and very wet. So what we'll do first, we'll mark the exceptions. First, I'll just start with the par moist climatic condition. Par moist climatic condition, entire India, only 4 locations are there. Only 4 locations are there. Okay. What are the 4 locations if you ask me? Right? Mainland India, it is 2 plus 2, I'll call it as. 2 island territories and 2 in mainland India. What are the 2 island territories? Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar Island is the island territory. Then when I talk about other 2, my dear friends, right, the west coast of India, right, just now we have seen west coast of India, Malabar coast and Konkan coast, and northeastern state. See, northeastern state I cannot forget. I have places like Cherrapunji, I have places like Mawsynram, etc. Okay, so somewhere I can put it as what? 2 plus 2, right? So here I have only 4 regions, my dear friends. Very easily I can mark it. Very easily I can mark it. Okay. So I talk about, say for example, this 2 plus 2, right? The northeastern states, right? The northeastern state and west coast of India are the 2 places which is there in mainland India. Apart from that, Andaman and Nicobar Islands along with the Lakshadweep I can mark it. Okay. So very easily I can remember this par moist climatic condition. Par moist, right? Par moist. So one exception I have just marked it. I have also written it. West coast of India, Konkan coast and Malabar coast, and the northeastern states. Entire northeastern state I can take it for that purpose. Then next extreme, arid. Arid means I can take it as what? Desert. I can take it as desert. Okay. When talk about desert, my dear friends, India has 2 types of desert. Right? India has a so-called hot desert or tropical desert. And India also has what? A cold desert. So where exactly India has this hot and tropical desert? Obviously, I understand it is Western Rajasthan. But not only Western Rajasthan, it is Run of Kutch or Kutch Peninsular Gujarat. Right? If I'm not going for the region, I'll just take the name of the state. Right? Rajasthan and Gujarat. Gujarat also we have what? Desert. For example, I have something called as Run of Kutch. I have something called as Little Run. Gujarat. What is the meaning of run if you ask me? Run means desert. Right. And again, if you ask me cold desert, where in India we have a cold desert? Number 1, Ladakh. barren beauty of India. Number 2, Laul and Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh. Himachal Pradesh also have cold desert. The other side of this Dharmasala. Am I right? Okay. All these places, Mekliotganj and other places, right, my dear friends, right? So these are the places where I have this Laul and Spiti Valley also located, right? Very near to this Kilong, right? Okay. Right, my dear friends. So now, somewhere, not only Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh also I have this cold desert. When I talk about tropical desert, Rajasthan and Gujarat. Okay. Only difference is tropical desert and cold desert. Okay. So that extreme also I have marked it. Okay. Two extremes. See. Somewhere I talked about okay. Somewhere I was just talking about arid region, Western Rajasthan and Rann of Kutch as a hot desert, Ladakh as a cold desert. If you want to add Laul and Spiti Valley also, you can add it. Lahul, maybe I'll give you a simple spelling. Lahul and Spiti Valley. Spiti Valley. Where? Himachal Pradesh. Laul and Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh. Okay. Now slightly you can see also. Slightly I'm just moving so that you can also see. Laul and Spiti Valley of Himachal Pradesh. Okay. Now you can see it also. Okay. Right, my dear friends. Now, two extremes I have marked it. Okay. See here, somewhere seeing this as a fact is one type of revising. But more than that, you have to correlate it. Once I know the climate, I can go for vegetation because every year, at least one question comes from vegetation. What we somewhere see as a miscellaneous topic, soils is a miscellaneous topic, agriculture is a miscellaneous topic, vegetation is a miscellaneous topic. Take it from me, these three areas, if you take it, three questions would be there every year. Okay, right. So somewhere climate and vegetation somewhere can be correlated. Okay, right, my dear friends. Now here. Power moist climatic condition we have marked it. Arid climatic regions we have marked it. Now comes the intermediate two, moist and semi-arid. Again, if you ask me, okay, which is slightly easier for us to mark it, if you ask me semi-arid. Dry, semi-arid means dry but not so dry. Whatever you know, you can take it. For example, once you remember, right, Western Ghats, we were calling it as a climate divide. Western Ghat was dividing power moist climatic condition on one side and semi-arid condition of another side. Rain shadow interiors of Sahyadri. I know it. Right. Then Aravalli is also called as a climate divide. One side it is arid, another side it is semi-arid. Otherwise, you remember semi-arid plains of India, right? Punjab. Even I raised a question, right? Punjab is a semi-arid region, but in spite of the fact how it is known for agricultural productivity, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Eastern Rajasthan, and rest of Gujarat. Like something like a semicircular region, right? I have this semi-arid regions also. Two regions, okay. The semicircular semi-arc along with this rain shadow interiors of Shangya. Then the plateau interiors of Chotanagpur Plateau, Bastar Plateau, Telangana Plateau, wherever you feel that mining as an activity is very common. See, mining can take place only in a drier location. Mining normally cannot take place in wet location because water can very easily enter what? The mined places. Neither the shaft mining nor the open cast mining is not ordinarily possible in a wet location. Okay, because the seepage of the water will be okay. In that way, my dear friends, what I have just done here, I have simply marked the semi-arid regions, right? As what I said, rain shadow interiors of Sahyadri, the semicircular semi-arc regions of Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Eastern Rajasthan, and rest of Gujarat. Technically speaking, Delhi is also semi-arid, dry. Punjab is dry. But I also know the fact, Punjab, in spite of the fact Punjab is dry, how exactly Punjab is known for agricultural productivity? Rivers. What we are not experiencing or receiving through precipitation, we are receiving in the form of what? River, right? Somewhere we should receive water, that's all. Then the plateau interiors of Telangana, Bastar and Chotanagpur plateau, I can take it. My dear friends, whatever we have not marked, rest of India, put it as moist. That's it. Climate is done. Okay. So how exactly the different climatic regions are there? Somewhere we have a general idea. Okay. Now, my dear friends, climate type. Small corrections I will make it when it comes to vegetation, right? Climate and vegetation makes a very important role. For example, wherever I have par moist climatic condition, this is the place where I will be having this evergreen forest. Wherever I have a moist climatic condition, I will be having deciduous forest. Wherever I have a semi-arid climatic condition, I will be having, say, for example, thorny forest. Thorny forest. Or I will be having what? A grassland. Right? Arid regions, I will be having a desert. This is universal. Okay. Evergreen forest is confined to par moist climatic condition. Deciduous forest will be confined to moist climatic region. Thorny forest or grasslands are confined to semi-arid regions, whereas deserts are confined to arid region. In that way, looking at the image itself, you can say which type of forest will be dominating the entire India. If you ask me, obviously it is deciduous forest. What is evergreen? When I talk about evergreen, name itself says evergreen. Throughout the year, the green canopy of the forest will be maintained. That's what you call them as what? Evergreen forest throughout the year. Okay, right. Right, my dear friends. Now, climatic regions, yes, we talked about. Now, I want to correlate things. Okay, I'll talk about the natural vegetations in India. Natural vegetation. Right. First, I'll talk about evergreen forest, my dear friends. Now, here itself, I know what are the places where I have this far moist climatic condition. West coast of India, I should have an evergreen forest, right? And say, for example, northeastern state, I should have an evergreen forest. But slightly, I'll have an exception to it. Okay, right. So here I don't, say, for example, same thing, I'm just taking it. Mountain, you leave it. All this Himalayan stretch, I'm leaving it. You call them as what? Mountain type of vegetation itself. Mountain type of vegetation. We are not worried about the mountain type. Okay. Now see, West Coast is an example of evergreen forest. Northeastern state is also an example of evergreen forest. But what is an exception? Slightly this northeastern state, I can also extend into West Bengal. Not exactly somewhere cutting across here, right? I'm not stopping only with what? Northeastern state. Extend it. Because even today, some of the atlas today, if I just talk about northeastern state, West Bengal is also shown on the same map. So include West Bengal also, right? So including West Bengal, I'm taking northeastern state. Now here, what is the exception? What is an exception? This East Deccan evergreen forest is an exception, right? East Deccan evergreen forest. This is what sometimes either you call them as what? East Deccan evergreen forest. I'll put it as EG, right? Evergreen forest. Or sometimes you also call them as what? Dry evergreen forest. You call them as what? Dry evergreen forest. Either you call them as what? East Deccan evergreen forest, or you call them as what? Dry evergreen forest. That is an exception. And my dear friends, one of the reason for having this East Deccan evergreen forest is this northeastern monsoon. Not only northeastern monsoon, my dear friends, this region is also known for what? More number of cyclones. See, cyclones, I should not see cyclone only as a destructive weather phenomenon. No, not like that. It means if I'm just seeing cyclone in a destructive phenomena, as a destructive phenomena, somewhere my orientation will be wrong. Correct? Cyclones do somewhere bring that beneficial rainfall. Only the region around the eye where exactly you're having this eye landfall, that will be disastrous in nature. But otherwise, outer margin brings enough precipitation. Okay? So, evergreen forest I can understand. When I correlate it with the climatic map, that is west coast of India, northeastern state, including West Bengal, that is okay. But one exception, the East Deccan evergreen forest is an exception. Okay, the Coromandel plains, places like Chennai, even slightly Andhra Pradesh, I can take it, right? Places like Vedaranyam, right? Point Kalimar, all this place I can take it. Okay, right. You call them as a rainforest, but you call them as evergreen forest. Make it very simple. Okay. See, tropical deciduous and all don't try to remember. Why I am saying tropical deciduous don't try to remember? Tropical rainforest or evergreen forest. You call them as tropical evergreen forest, rainforest, or you call them as what? Evergreen forest. Evergreen forest. Meaning is almost same. This tropical deciduous forest don't try to remember because rest of India you take it. That is means evergreen forest. Then my dear friends, see, Mountain forest, mountain type of forest. All Himalayas you take it as mountain type of forest. Mangrove and all don't even consider about it because coastal area means mangroves. Obviously, right, India's largest and world's largest mangroves vegetation is there in what? Sundarbans. Every coastal areas will be having mangroves. Don't worry about mangroves. Now, tropical thorny forest and scrubs. I know the fact tropical thorny forest are there in what? Semi-arid region. Right? For all practical reason, include this arid also. Arid desert. This is your desert, but include it. Rest of it. Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, Eastern Rajasthan, rest of Gujarat. What we have seen in climatology means climate map, right? Right. This is the place. Semi-arid regions, I'll be having this thorny forest. Then see, the eastern side of Western Ghats. The rain shadow interiors of Western Ghats, along with the Telangana Plateau and Bastar Plateau. If not Bastar, at least Telangana Plateau, I can take it. Okay. That is tropical thorny forest. Rest of India, what you have marked it, not marked it, put as tropical deciduous forest. Okay. You call them as what? Deciduous forest. I call them as deciduous forest. Okay. Right. So how to remember? Again, I told you, try to remember the exception. Bar moist climatic condition is an exception. Right. In that exception, we have one more exception in the name of what? East Deccan forest. Then dry regions, what I have is what? Semi-arid regions, I have this. Arid and semi-arid regions, I have tropical thorny forest. Right. The rain shadow interiors of Sahyadri along with Telangana Plateau. Right. So very easy. Whatever you have left it, that is tropical deciduous forest. Okay. So that is all about natural vegetation, my dear friends. Now, from natural vegetation, moving to the next topic called as agriculture. See, agriculture, I'll give you, say for example, most of the things you know in agriculture, but only thing is that I'll give you the geographical orientation of some of the very important crops. See, I believe that only 9 crops is largely important for the examination purpose. I'll tell you, what are the 9 crops? For that case, I know the fact that when I talk about cropping seasons in India, we have 3 cropping seasons, Kharif, Rabi and Zaid. Kharif is a monsoonal crop. It's a monsoonal crop. Rabi is a dry winter crop. Zaid is a dry summer crop. For example, in that way, right? See, for example, very easily also I can remember. Zaid crop, my dear friends, any flowering plants, floriculture, horticulture, that is seasonal vegetables and fruits, all this, if I just take it, that belongs to Zaid. Dry winter crops, Rabi crops. What I have to remember is Rabi crop, because Rabi crops, the number of examples are limited, right? So try to remember Rabi crops and whatever normally you do not remember, right? Somewhere if you feel that, okay, somewhere larger part of India it is cultivated, but somewhere I am sure that it is not part of Rabi crop. And if it is not a Zaid crop, you associate it with Kharif crop. That's it. See, sugarcane and all, we cannot classify whether it is a Kharif or Rabi, but still books you will be finding it is given as Kharif because it grows in tropical region. Any crop which grows in tropical region, you call them as what? Kharif crop. Even for example, cotton, somewhere if I am just taking it, you put it more like a Kharif crop. Groundnut also you classify more like a Kharif crop. See, sugarcane, actually speaking, sugarcane grows somewhere around 12 to 18 months. Actually speaking, it sees also seasons. But still, just because of the fact that it is grown in tropical conditions, you call them as what? Kharif. Okay. So try to remember Rabi, whatever you don't remember in Rabi, put it as Kharif. Of course, it should not be a flowering plant as such. You can see, for example, tea and coffee is also, I cannot classify it because it's a plantation crop. But still, some of the books you will be finding that they are more like Kharif. Okay. Right. Because it needs hot and humid climatic condition. Right? Right, my friends. Now, when I talk about Kharif crop. Put it very simple. All this July, October and all, you leave it. Kharif means monsoonal crop. When exactly you experience monsoon? June, July, August. So what exactly is the prevailing climate? June is summer. Summer means it will be hot. And monsoon, so it will be humid. So, all these crops need more temperature and more moisture. That's it. Right? It needs more of temperature and more of moisture. That's what it says. It needs lot of water. Alright? It needs lot of water. And temperature also, next somewhere slide you will be seeing that it needs more of temperature. I've given you a very big list. But don't take this list so seriously. Somewhere I have given you an idea that it is better to remember Rabi crops. Then automatically what you do not associate with Rabi, you can associate with what? Kharif. Okay. Now, going for this Rabi crops, my dear friends. It is a winter season crop. Winter season crop. It needs cold weather and consumes less water. Okay. That's the reason. So normally you call them as what? Dry winter. Dry, less water, winter, cold conditions, cold weather. Okay. Both somewhere I am just associating. Zaid crop. Zaid crop, say for example, normally where exactly it is, when exactly it is sown. Somewhere I have shown you. Dry summer as a period. Needs warm, dry weather for growth and longer days or longer day length for the flowering. Okay. Vegetables and seasonal fruits are the classical example of this Zaid. Okay. Having said this, my dear friends, what somewhere I have to understand, only I said 9 crops is very important for the examination. I'll tell you what exactly are the 9 crops. See, for example, food grains, if I just take it, only 3 I have to take it. Rice, wheat and millets, only 3. Rice, wheat and millet. Commercial crop, cotton, jute, sugarcane. Jute, you don't separate it. Whatever is the condition needed for rice is the same condition needed for jute. So don't study it separately. West Bengal is a classical example. West Bengal is the largest producer or say for example cultivator of the jute. But somewhere why exactly West Bengal was not able to expand the jute cultivation if you ask me, because if you expand the jute cultivation, right? If you expand the jute cultivation, my dear friends, it can happen only at the cost of what? Rice cultivation. Okay, somewhere you are compromising on the food security. That's the reason jute has a challenge. So don't take jute separately. Whatever is the condition for rice, the same condition I have for what? Jute. West Bengal is a classical example. All 3 seasons West Bengal goes for what? Rice cultivation. Okay. Then plantation crop, it is tea, coffee and rubber. Okay. So today's class I'll be discussing about rice. I'll be discussing about wheat. I'll be discussing about millets in general. Okay, all millets. Say for example, it can be say for example ragi, it can be jowar, right? It can be okay, whatever it is the case, right? Sorghum, bajra, whatever it is the case. Somewhere all the millets I'll put it together. I'll put it together. General conditions we'll be discussing about. Then I'll be discussing about cotton. Jute I'll not discuss because once I discuss rice, jute is taken care. Then we'll be discussing about sugarcane also. Then I'll be giving you tea and coffee general difference. Rubber alone you have to do it. Okay. So these are the crops what I'm just trying to cover it. Very simple. Okay, the basic ideas. Not getting into the detail. Basic ideas is more than enough. For example, starting with rice. Right. My dear friends, rice is a kharif crop. Once I say kharif crop, I know kharif crop needs more temperature, more water. Okay. So kharif crop is a summer crop, my dear friends. See, this fact and all, if you want to take it, you take it at this moment because it says it covers 1/3 of the total cultivated area, and that's okay. Maximum population of India is a rice consumers. That's also okay. That's what the fact says. Am I right? It's a combination. It's a combination. Rice and wheat combinations are there. And one more thing, food habit always say, for example, food, whenever, say, forget about the globalized food. Otherwise, say, for example, the plate, the food, what you have on a plate gives you a glimpse of the geographical condition of the place. For example, when I talk about the peninsular part of India, you'll be finding, say, for example, it is more of the rice dominated the food habit. The reason, peninsular part of India, given the climatic condition, what is say very commonly grown is what? Rice. Right. When we talk about the northern plains of India, it is more rice and wheat, say for example, culture. Why? Because rice is cultivated, some of the places rice is cultivated during the advancing monsoon. Wheat is cultivated during the rabi crops. The same place, same land. During, say for example, the advancing monsoon period, rice will be cultivated. The same land, wheat will be cultivated during the rabi crops. Somewhere if you're there in part of northern parts of Karnataka or plateau interiors of Karnataka, ragi dominates. Because given the plateau interiors, given the semi-arid region, given the not so fertile nature of the soil, etc., somewhere dry land cropping is very common. And say for example, ragi plays a very important role. Ragi is more like a staple crop. Right? So food is a reflection of the geographical condition of a place. Having said this, my dear friends, having said this, When talk about, say, for example, the rice cultivation, as I said, is a kharif crop. And what is the geographical condition? As I already said, it needs hot and humid climatic condition. Hot and humid climatic condition. Now see, the temperature should be fairly around 24 degrees centigrade. I'll tell you what. Make it very simple. What is hot? Anywhere if the temperature is more than 22 degrees centigrade, you call them as what? Warm condition or hot condition. You may wonder, what is this 22 and all you're saying hot? Then I am experiencing somewhere around 44 degree in Delhi. Then what you will call this temperature as? My dear friends, this 22 degree is not the maximum temperature. 22 degrees centigrade is the average temperature. For example, cyclones, if you ask me, one of the conditions needed for cyclone is very high temperature. What is very high temperature? 25 to 28 degrees centigrade. We call them as very high. Coral reefs formation need warm water. What is that warm water? 22 degrees centigrade. Correct? So 22 degrees centigrade on an average, my difference. Normally, if the temperature is more than 22 degrees centigrade, we call them as what? Warm conditions. And let me tell you, for us, any temperature appears colder because we are living in one of the warmest region of the world. Even equatorial region is not warm. Tropical region is warm. Highest temperature in the world is recorded in tropical region. Death Valley is that place where exactly the highest temperature is recorded. Okay, that's n number of decades is over after recording it. But whatever it is, tropical average temperature, if I just take it, tropical regions are warmer than the equatorial region. Okay, now 22 degrees centigrade itself, you consider that they are warm. Okay, rainfall, humid. When I say humid, also you can take it right. 150 to 300 centimeters. Somewhere, if you are nearing 200 centimeters, you call them as what? Humid. But of course, I understand. Even in a place where there is less rainfall, I can go for rice cultivation, provided I can have the help of what? Irrigation. Punjab and Haryana is a classical example where irrigation also, rainfall I do not have much, but irrigation helps us in having what? This rice cultivation. Soil, any soil is, say for example, normally okay for, say for example, rice cultivation, but most suitable soil is clay soil, or even loamy soil. But clay soil is more suitable. I'll tell you why. Because normally the kind of irrigation that is, say for example, almost that is used for rice cultivation, we call them as what? Flood irrigation. Flood irrigation means we'll be allowing the water to be stagnant in the land for a few days. So only if the soil has a capacity to retain the water, where the percolation of the water is very limited or very less, then only, say for example, that soil can be more useful for what? Rice cultivation. So clay soil is that soil which has least percolation, right? The most acceptable or the most, say for example, almost conducive soil is clay soil, right? Not necessarily other soils, it will not grow, but clay soils are the most conducive soil. And when I talk about exceptions, my dear friends, even Kutanad, places like Kutanad also we have the soil, rice is being cultivated. Even valleys of Kashmir also rice is cultivated. See, from the lowest point to the valleys of the Kashmir, rice is cultivated. So diversified geographical condition, we cultivate rice. Okay, right. Then comes, right, I am just showing you some of the major rice growing regions in India. See, what are the essential conditions? I'll tell you. Number one, either it should be moist or par moist in climatic condition. Okay. Number two, largely it should be a plains. Of course, number three, warm condition. Okay. These are the conditions which is needed for rice cultivation. So plains. So mostly the Indo-Gangetic plain. Okay. Brahmaputra plains, Lower Gangetic plain, Mahanadi plains, Northern Sirkars, Coromandel, Malabar plains, Konkan plains. Alright. So these are the regions where exactly major, say for example, cultivation takes place. Obviously, plains is there, moist or par moist climatic condition should also be there. But as I already told, Punjab and Haryana, even if par moist climatic condition is not there, right, with the help of irrigation, they go for what? Cultivation. Okay. Right. Then comes wheat, my dear friends. Wheat. See, when I talk about wheat, wheat is a rabi crop. Wheat is the second most important food crop in India next to rice. It's a rabi crop. It's a winter crop. Sown in the beginning of winter, harvested in the beginning of summer, that and all we know it. Okay. See, when I talk about, say, for example, this temperature needed, when I say winter is a winter crop, what you need is a cold condition, right? Somewhere, cold condition. Take it as cold condition. That's more than enough. What should be the temperature at sowing, harvesting, and all? That much is not needed, but still, normally, when I say at the time of sowing, it should be slightly, right? Say, for example, less, and at the type of ripening, slightly it should be warm. Otherwise, I can take that condition also. The month of March, you will be going for what? Harvesting, right? So the temperature rises during the month of March. Okay. Then wheat is actually a temperate crop, my dear friends. Wheat is a temperate crop. Basically, it came from the steppe regions. Am I right? So wheat thrives well in receiving, say, for example, an annual rainfall of somewhere around 75 centimeters to 100 centimeters, normal, not more than that region as such. Okay. And one more thing, frost at the time of flowering and hailstorm at the time of ripening, both are injurious, not only to wheat. Any plant you take it, frost is injurious, hailstorm is injurious. At the time of ripening, flowering, that is okay. That is okay. You can somewhere take it, right? But anytime if you experience this, it is not, say, for example, good for a plant. Okay. Soil, again, say any topic, any soil, any kind of soil, wheat can be cultivated. As I already said, some of the places, wheat is cultivated as the, say, for example, the winter combinational crop of what? Rice. So whichever part of India experience winter, that part of India is the one which experience or which is known for what? Wheat cultivation. And you know which part of India experience winter? Simple northwestern part of India. We talked about western disturbance, right? The same place which experienced western disturbance, the northwestern part of India. Slightly I can extend into Bihar, right? Also, right? So northwestern part of India is that major producer of what? Wheat. Because northwestern part of India is that part of India which experienced true winter. Why true winter there? Two reasons. Number one, away from the equator and away from the coastal areas. Both the reasons I can take it. Okay. Right, my dear friends. It's all about wheat. Millets. See, millet, I always feel that millet is a God's gift. Why I call it as a God's gift? Because see, millet can grow in any condition. You call them as what? Coarse grains. Millets are a short duration, warm weather crops. These are coarse grains. Coarse grains in the sense, not because the grains are coarse, because it somewhere grows in a coarse condition, a very tough geographical condition it grows. It can be used as both food and fodder. Now, temperature, my difference 22 itself, I said it is warm, hot. But see, millets can be grown till the temperature 7. Even if the temperature is 27 to 32 degrees centigrade, it can be grown, right? Millets are can be grown in very hot condition. Rainfall, see, snow, you call them as a dry land crops. Even the place which experience 50 to 100 centimeter, millets can be grown. And see, soil, millets are less sensitive to soil deficiency. See the beauty. The temperature is very high, millets can be grown. Even if the water is very less, millets can be grown. Even if the soil is not so fertile, right? Soil is deficient, millets can be grown. All coarse conditions, but still, the nutritional value what millets gives you is enormous. That's why I said it's a God's gift. All right. But why exactly millets are not so popular? Nowadays we are talking about it means popularization of the millets. But somewhere I believe that, say, for example, the millets somewhere lost its prominence because of Green Revolution. Because food security somewhere we have achieved at the cost of nutritional security. But today we are talking about evergreen revolution. That's a different story. But somewhere the prominence of millet has somewhere got reduced because of the rise in wheat growth. Okay. Now, when I talk about millets, my dear friends, geographical condition needed for millets is more or less common. But the state, when I talk about, say, for example, the place where exactly the millets are grown, it is the individual choice of the farmers. Okay. When I talk about, say, for example, millets, we have, say, for example, this great millet. Great millet is very popularly called as sorghum, or you call them as what? Jowar. You call them as what? Sorghum or jowar. And when I talk about, say, for example, pearl millet, we call them as what? Bajra. We call them as what? Bajra. Then when I talk about finger millets, we call them as what? Ragi. right? These are some of the very important millets what we have, right? And of course, I said the choice belongs to the state itself. For example, when I talk about this pearl millet, that is bajra, right? Bajra, say for example, one of the chief grower of bajra, cultivator of bajra is Rajasthan, right? Though there are plenty, see, take it very simple. Wherever the sophisticated crops cannot be grown, right? Millets can be grown. All that plateau interiors, semi-arid regions, right? All these regions, millets can be grown. Okay, right. Then say for example, jowar or sorghum, the default, one of the leading producer is what? Maharashtra, right? Then when I talk about ragi, the default name comes with Karnataka. Even I have just given you one example. Okay, right. Millets. Maize is not so important. All the crops what I have just given you, I have just given some consolidation. Something like a ready reckoning. Right. What type of season it is planted? What is the temperature needed? What is the rainfall needed? What type of soil is needed? What is the general feature, right? And location where exactly it is cultivated. I have just given you as a table. Individually, I have just given you the fact, but here I have just given you one table for your ready reckoning. Okay, right. That's all about food crop, my dear friends. Three crops which is important as a food crop. Now talking about this commercial crops, like cash crops, right? Sugarcane. See, sugarcane, I told you. Normally, sugarcane, the growth period is somewhere around 12 to 18 months. Actually speaking, you cannot confine it to one seasons, right? One growing season, but still, because it is tropical in nature, we call them as what? Kharif crop. It requires a hot and humid climatic condition, right? Hot and humid climatic condition, right? Somewhere 21 degree to 27 degrees is the temperature that is needed. And rainfall, my dear friends, already I said humid climatic condition. If not par moist, right? Till 150, 200, up to 200 also I can take it. Up to 200 centimeters. Wherever I experience up to 200 centimeter, I can have the sugarcane cultivation. Okay. Now, soil, my dear friends, soil actually speaking, and one more thing, let me also tell you this sugarcane is an water intense crop. Out of all the crops, if you take it, sugarcane is the one which, say, for example, even soil, if I talk about it, it grows in variety of soil, it says. In fact, sugarcane tolerate any kind of soil that can retain moisture, right? Retention of moisture is very, very important. That's the reason I said sugarcane is water intense crop. Of course, not like paddy, not like rice, but still it is water intense crop. And very important, my dear friends, sugarcane can exhaust the fertility of the soil very quickly, very, very quickly and extensively. Okay, that's the reason lot of manure and fertilizers are needed for what? Sugarcane cultivation. Okay, very quickly, say for example, it will be exhausted, and of course, it is also right labor oriented cultivation. Sugarcane needs more of labor oriented cultivation. The key points what I have to take it is water intense crop, right? But still, when I talk about one keyword or one key point, a takeaway point, it exhausts the soil more quickly than any other crops you talk about. Okay, right. Then apart from sugarcane, my difference, if I'm just going for cotton, see cotton is a kharif crop grown in tropical and subtropical areas that I know. When I talk about temperature, when I say kharif, hot temperature, right? See, few places we say 22 degree, few places 23 degree, few places 21 degree. That and all you forget about it. Somewhere remember hot. That should be more than enough. Rainfall, somewhere say for example, even semi-arid region, it can grow, right? It requires modest amount of rainfall, semi-arid region. That's the reason, my dear friends. Even Vidarbha regions of Maharashtra and Gujarat are known for cotton cultivation. See, that is for another reason, because of black soil build. But somewhere I understand Gujarat and eastern side of Maharashtra are known for what? Semi-arid regions. So semi-arid regions, cotton can be grown, but very important. Cotton is generally grown in a place where it should at least have 210 frost-free days in a year. Am I right? It means wherever you have peak winters, cottons cannot be grown. Okay. And very important, my dear friends, what type of soil is needed for cotton, if you ask me? Cotton needs the most conducive soil is black soil, because cotton is one type of Somewhere I know that it is somewhere cultivated in semi-arid region. Atmospheric moisture will be less, but the soil moisture should be more. Black soil has a capacity to retain the moisture for a very long time, right? Very long time, right? If that is the case, my dear friends, whenever I just talk about it, it retains the moisture, right? Somewhere precipitation should be less, but soil moisture should be more. That's the reason the most conducive soil for cotton cultivation is what? Black soil as such. Right. See, it doesn't mean that alluvial soil and all you cannot cultivate cotton. No. The black soil itself, if you ask me what is the other name for black soil, we call them as what? Black cotton soil or regur soil. Right. Coming to tea, right? Without a break, tea break, we are going for a tea, right? Now see, tea and coffee, my dear friends. The difference is very, very minimal. Climatic condition, soil condition, temperature needed, amount of rainfall needed and all, and the nature of the growth also if you take it, you cannot differentiate it. It's almost very close. It means the conditions are something like this. You can have one, say for example, a row of tea cultivation, another row of coffee cultivation, till it will be growing. Because the conditions are what? Very, very simple. But somewhere, if I just talk about the difference, tea, my dear friends, tea was introduced by, say for example, Britishers in India, say way back 1923, tea was introduced by Britishers. But when I talk about coffee, coffee was planted by our own Indian. Baba Budan is a person who has planted coffee and he has planted his first plantation in Baba Budan hills of Karnataka. Only see, just because he has planted this hill itself, we call them as what? Baba Budan hills, right? So, for example, he got it from Arabia. Coffee originally, say for example, had its origin from Ethiopia, right? From Arabia, he, say for example, brought the seeds and cultivated in what? Baba Budan hills in Karnataka. Okay. So, one difference, tea is brought by Britishers, coffee is brought by our own India. Temperature needed. See, temperature. When talk about temperature, what is the tea temperature of the tea needed? Somewhere around 20 to 30 degree. Am I right? Somewhere 20 to 30 degree. Now see the coffee, my difference. Coffee, what exactly is the temperature needed? Somewhere around 15 to 28 degree. It means ranges are more or less overlapping. 20 to 30, here 15 to 28. There is no much difference. Okay. Then say for example, when talk about tea plantation, normally we say tea plantation, when I talk about rainfall, what is the rainfall? Somewhere around 150 to 300 centimeters. Okay. And say for example, coffee, when I talk about it, again when I talk about rainfall, 150 to 250 centimeters. No much difference. Soil, well-drained soil, exactly opposite like cotton. Cotton needs more retention of moisture. Okay. Cotton retention of moisture. Even say for example, when I talk about sugarcane needs more retention of moisture. When I talk about, say, for example, rice needs more retention of moisture. Okay. In that way, my dear friends, when I talk about, say, for example, tea and coffee, both needs well-drained soil. Tea also needs well-drained soil, right? In that way, coffee also needs what? Well-drained soil. Okay. See here again I say well-drained soil. That's the reason. Tea plantation and coffee plantation, generally, they are somewhere cultivated along the mountain slopes. Why mountain slopes, my dear friends? Right? Why mountain slopes, if you ask me? Because well-drained soil as such. Now here, more or less, the conditions are similar. Even coffee, see, coffee is generally grown under shady trees. Then see the tree. And talk about tea, right? And talk about tea is a shade-loving plant. All that condition, temperature, rainfall, soil, shade-loving nature, everything is similar. I'm not saying same, it is similar. But what is the point of differentiation? I'll tell you. Number one, who introduced is a point of differentiation. But when I talk about geographical condition, what exactly is the point of differentiation, my friends? Tea plantation. Somewhere I understand this coffee bean is there, right? Coffee bean will be ripening, right? Say, for example, from the coffee bean, you extract it. Okay. So somewhere I understand, say, for example, you will be having the processing, flowering process will be taking place, right? And say, for example, the coffee bean like a cherry, say, for example, this bean will be ripening or this coffee bean will be ripening, then eventually it get dried. So that flowering process is there in coffee plantation. But when I talk about tea plantation, there is no flowering plants or flowering nature is not there. The tea itself is say somewhere around. It is taken and processed. Okay, that is one point of differentiation. Okay, when I talk about coffee, I'm not very sure whether this point is given here or not. Okay, but one thing I understand, you need a flowering season for coffee, but tea plantation, that flowering season is not there. That is one major difference is there. And number two, when I talk about rainfall, my dear friends, when I talk about rainfall, normally when I talk about coffee plantation, normally they say dry weather is necessary at the time of ripening of the berries. That is the coffee bean, dry weather. But tea plantation, the dry weather is not needed. Correct? It means throughout the year, if the well distributed precipitation is there, tea plantation will be favorable. These are the differentiator. Okay? Right, my dear friends. Only rubber, I am requesting you to do the same. Okay? So this is all about the agriculture, and see when I talk about number of questions that has been asked, right? Somewhere read it. I'll go one by one. Given the time, I may not read it. Somewhere I'm just giving you, at least you can pause it, you can read it after, right? See, you're supposed to identify. Consider the following crop: cotton, groundnut, rice, wheat. Which of these are Kharif crop? Right? Wheat is a Rabi crop. Remove 4. If you remove 4, I have a choice between B and C. Right? Only thing is that first somewhere I have to think about cotton. Cotton is also Kharif crop. I know answer is C. The crop is subtropical in nature. Hard frost is injurious. It requires at least 210 frost-free days and somewhere 50 to 100 centimeters of rainfall. Well-drained soil capable of retaining moisture is ideally suited for cultivation of crop. So and so. What crop they are asking for? I know the fact they are talking about what? Cotton. Okay, right. Lower Gangetic Plain is characterized by humid. See, Lower Gangetic Plain means West Bengal. Okay, they're talking about West Bengal. It's characterized by humid climate and high temperature, hot and humid. Okay, throughout the year. Which one of the following pair of crop is most suitable for this region? Paddy and cotton. Right? Cotton is do not grows in humid region. Okay, cotton is taken away. Wheat is taken away. Wheat is not grown in what? Hot region, right? Again, wheat is taken away. What is answer? Paddy. Because I know paddy and jute, same similar condition, geographical condition. Okay, all these are past year's question. Okay, a state in India has following character. It's northern part of India. Said okay. Sorry, its northern parts is arid and semi-arid. Its central part. Central part produces cotton. See, if you read this sentence very carefully, the central part produces cotton. If it says central part produces cotton, means that state itself is producing cotton. That is the meaning. Right? If I say the state is producing cotton, either it should be Gujarat or it should be Maharashtra. Okay. And with that sentence, see, central part itself is producing cotton means that state is producing cotton. That's the meaning. Am I right? Rationality. So direct answer, what is that state they are referring to? They're talking about Gujarat. You can verify with the third statement also. Cultivation of cash crop is more predominant than food crops. Andhra, I cannot take it because rice is more predominant. Karnataka, say for example, millet is more predominant. Tamil Nadu, again, say for example, the rice is more predominant. Anyway, whichever statement you take it, it is referring to what? Gujarat. Among which of the following is the least, right, water efficient crop? I have highlighted, but otherwise, okay, yes, I know it is sugarcane. Right. Right, my dear friends. Now, coming to the last segment of our discussion, soils. Already we are overshooting the time, but I'll just try to complete the soil. At least I'll just give you which soil is very important. See, generally when I talk about soil, my dear friends, soil. Ancient classification, we have this fertile and infertile soils. Urvara means fertile soil, Usara means infertile soil, sterile soil. Okay, that is ancient classification. Now, when I talk about current classification of Indian soil, it is actually based on USDA's classification. United States Department of Agricultural Soil Taxonomy, we have classified it. According means along with ICAR, right? Indian Council for Agricultural Research, which comes under the CSIR, right? They are the one who have classified this Indian soil. How exactly they have classified? They have classified into 8 categories, my dear friends, right? Say, for example, insectisols, entisols, alphisols, vertisols, aridisols, ultisols, mollisols, and others. But good thing I'll tell you, this is not needed. What is needed for us is a color-based classification, genesis-based classification, and texture-based classification. In that, we have 8 types of soil. What are they? Alluvial soil, black soil, red and yellow soil, laterite soil, arid soil, saline soil, peaty soil, and forest soil. See, name itself gives you. When talk about, say, for example, alluvial soil, my difference. Alluvial soils are river deposited soil. Wherever you have riverine plains, all these places you have this alluvial soil. I'll have this Kadir and Bar. Black soil, wherever I have a lava plateau, I'll be having a black soil. Deccan Trap is a classical example. Red and yellow soil. What makes this red color, if you ask me? This oxidation of the, say for example, ferrous substance or iron makes this as red. If at all, if it is there in hydrated form, somewhere I have ferrous constituent in the soil, but it is located in moist location or par moist location, it will be yellow in color. So, mostly I'll be having this in what? Shield or the plateau interiors. I'll be having this red and yellow soil. Laterite soil, wherever I have hot and humid climatic condition, right? I'll be having this laterite soil. Later means brick. Laterite soils are not so conducive for agricultural purpose, but still, some of the states you'll be finding this cashew nuts are grown in what? Laterite soil, but okay, very rarely. Hot and humid climatic condition, I'll be having this laterite soil. Arid soil normally says. Dry regions, I'll be having arid soil. Arid soil and saline soils are also somewhere closely associated. Wherever I have the intrusion of this salinity, there all I can have this saline soil. Okay. Now here, the 3 soils alone, so 5 soils alone we'll be discussing here. Saline soil, I would request you slightly go through this NCERT. See, all this material, what you're seeing here, agriculture I have taken from NIOS material. I'm telling you the source because that source is important. Soil I have taken from NCERT itself. Okay, in that way, my dear friends, alluvial soil. So the basic facts, if I just take it, 40% of Indian land is what? Alluvial soil. That's what NCERT says. It means this is the single largest soil in India. River deposited soil. Okay. 2 types of alluvial soils are there. Already I know the fact, right? One you call them as what? Kadir and Bangar. Kadir means new alluvial soil. Bangar means old alluvial soil. That's it. And you remember even yesterday we talked about something called as what? Kankar, right? The calcareous concentration rich soil, you call them as what? Kankar. And Kankar is infertile soil, we said. Okay. So alluvial soil, only basic fact I know, but one fact what I'm just trying to take it here. River deposited soil, you call them as what? Alluvial soil. Black soil. See, black soil is a very deep soil, very deep, because it's a structural soil. Correct. Whatever is the feature, somewhere I understand it will be having its own horizons. Correct. So it will be very deep soil. Weathering is the process which would have resulted in this soil formation. And this soil is formed wherever I have a volcanic feature. And this feature, my dear friends, wherever I have Deccan Trap, this black soil mostly overlaps with what? Deccan Trap. The soil, my dear friends, either you call them as what? Regur soil or you call them as what? Black cotton soil. Very important. The soil, I'm telling you, mark it, very, very important. Okay. And see, read it. It says, black soil are generally clay. That and all it is okay. Deep, impermeable. They swell and become sticky when it wet and shrinks when dried. So during the dry seasons, the soil developed wide crack. Thus, there occurs a kind of a self-plowing mechanism. This is a keyword. Goes for a self-flowing mechanism. Because of this character of slow absorption and loss of moisture, the black soil retains moisture for a very long time. You remember even cotton, when we talked about cotton, we said a soil which has the capacity of retaining more moisture. Okay. And my dear friends, this helps the crops, especially the rain-fed ones, to sustain the moisture even during the dry season. Correct. So what is the takeaway? Regur soil, black cotton soil, self-flowing mechanism, which has the capacity to retain moisture for a very long time. Black soil is very, very important, my dear friends. Very, very important. Okay, right. Then we have this red and yellow soil, as I already said. Wherever I have this igneous soil, right? Mostly shield. Or say, for example, this Azoic features, right? The oldest feature. They're all I'll be having this red soil. Why red soil? What develops this red soil? This reddish color is due to the wide diffusion of iron in the crystalline form, right? Both the igneous and metamorphic rock, right? It is all about oxidation of this iron. And the same soil will look yellow when it is occurring in hydrated form. If it is located slightly in a moist condition, it will be having yellow color. If it is dry condition, it will be looking red in color. Okay, right. Then comes laterite soil. Again, a very important soil. Laterite soil, as I said, when talk about the word later means brick, my dear friends. Normally, this laterite soil get developed in a place where you have a very high temperature and high rainfall. Now, see, when high temperature is high, what happens? The bacterial action will be more. The rate of removal of bacteria will be more. That's what it says. The humus content in the soil is removed fast by bacteria that thrives high in high temperature. Now you may immediately ask me, how come bacteria is thriving in high temperature? Don't you think that bacteria will be killed in high temperature? But how high? I am talking about 40, 45 and all. It's ideal condition for the multiplication of bacteria. So even if you want to somewhere fast forward the mechanism, curdling, okay, whatever it is the case, right? If you want to convert the milk into curd, you'll be adding some culture, right? The lactobacillus you'll be adding, okay. Slightly you warm it, slightly you heat it up, right? Somewhere slightly if you're increasing the temperature, what happens? The rate at which the multiplication of bacteria takes place, it will be more. Same thing, same logic is applicable. If temperature is high, the bacteria will remove this humus content in a fast forwarded fashion. So one thing I understand this soil will be largely devoid of humus. There may be very less humus or no humus. And what happens when rainfall is more? Somewhere leaching will also be intense. The process of removing the minerals from the soil, you call them as what? Leaching. Okay. So minerals is also not there, humus is also not there. That's the reason laterite soil, generally we call them as what? Infertile soil. They are highly infertile. Okay. These soils are not suitable for cultivation, but still I have just given you an example. In states like Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, along with Kerala, cashew nuts are generally grown in this soil, laterite soil. Okay. Then finally, our discussion, arid soil. So arid soil, my dear friends, forget about the range and all. Wherever I have dry condition, there I can have arid soil. Okay. So due to the dry climate, high temperature, and accelerated evaporation, they lack moisture and humus. They also lack moisture and humus. But see, they'll be having minerals. Laterite soil and arid soil, what is the difference? Humus will not be there. But arid soil, minerals will be there. You remember Bagar, Rajasthan Bagar, Bhiwani Bagar, etc. They are arid soils, but still kind of fertile soil because minerals were there, right? And where exactly I can generally have these arid soils? Western Rajasthan is a classical example of having this arid soil. Saline soil alone, somewhere I'm just giving it to you for your, say for example, just reference purpose. And I've just taken my different, see here, black soil, Deccan trap, wherever I have Deccan trap, this is the place where I'll use the black color itself. Okay, black soil. This is the place where I have what? Black soil. Exactly overlaps with the Deccan. Am I right? See here again, when I talk about alluvial soil, my difference, all this Indo-Gangetic plain, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, the coastal plains. Am I right? All these places I have what? Alluvial soils. Brahmaputra plains. Am I right? Plateau interiors, I have what? All this plateau interior. Chotanagpur plateau. Right? Say for example, Rajmahal Hills, Bastar Plateau, right? Telangana Plateau, the Deccan Plateau, all these places I have what? Red and yellow soil, right? Arid soil, the Western Rajasthan has what? Arid soil. Okay. So somewhere, if I know what exactly is the character, I can also say what are the different zonal soils what we have. So my dear friends, with this, we are completing, right, the agenda of the day, right? And almost all the important topics Somewhere we have just given a fast forwarded quick revision. Okay. So my dear friends, time is very limited. The only thing what I'm just trying to say, soil in Andaman and Lakshadweep, see, small regions you can live it. Andaman, it is more like a forested soil. Am I right? It is more like a forested soil, I can take it. Lakshadweep, it is an aggradational soil, right? The classification as such, we cannot have it in this format, right? Lakshadweep is also more like a saline soil, also you can take it because the intrusion of water is also more in that region. Okay, right, my dear friends, right? So keep studying, keep preparing, and keep revising. Revision, more number of revision you take it. Solve more number of MCQs, right? Keep yourself motivated, be confident, right? And rest is yours. Thank you and God bless. A different occasion, other occasions, we'll just keep meeting. Right. Thank you, my dear friends.